This is probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life.
Welcome to our special coverage, Remembering Sonny Bono. I'm John Siegenthaler. Sonny Bono was buried Friday, and in this hour we'll look back at the life of the entertainer turned politician, from his time on stage to his time in public office. Congressman Sonny Bono died in a skiing accident near Lake Tahoe, Nevada. But despite his rise as a successful lawmaker in Washington, most people remember him for his early showbiz years. The duo, Sonny and Cher, shot to fame in the 1960s for hits like I Got You, Babe, and The Beat Goes On. And they took their act to television and continued to be popular even after they divorced in 1974. And they continued to be close. On hearing of his death, Cher cut short a trip in London and flew back to California. And she has these words about her ex-husband and singing partner at his funeral.
Please excuse my papers, but I've been writing this stupid eulogy for the last 48 hours, and of course I know that this would make Sonny really happy. It's like Den said, he got the last laugh when you... So, because I've had to write some of it down doesn't mean that I'm unprepared. It just means that I'm over-prepared, and that this is probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life. Don't pay any attention. This is probably going to happen from time to time. And I also know that he is someplace loving this. Some people were under the misconception that Son was a short man, but he was heads and tails taller than anyone else. He could see above the tallest people. He had a vision of the future and just how he was going to build it. And his enthusiasm was so great that he just swept everybody along with him. Not that we know where he was going, but we just wanted to be there. He was also successful at anything he ever tried, and not the first time he tried maybe, but he kept going. If he really wanted something, he kept going until he achieved it. Some people thought that Son wasn't to be taken seriously because he allowed himself to be the butt of the jokes on the Sonny and Cher show. What people don't realize is that he created Sonny and Cher, and he knew what was right for us, you know? He just always knew the right thing, and he wanted to make people laugh so much that he had the confidence to be the butt of the joke, because he created the joke. When I was 16 years old, I met Sonny, Salvatore Philip Bono, and the first time I ever saw him, he walked in this room, and I had never seen anything like him before in my life. Because he was Sonny a lot, way before we were Sonny and Cher. He had this thing about him, and he walked into this room, and I swear to God, I saw him, and like everybody else in the room was just washed away in this kind of soft focus filter, kind of like when Maria saw Tony at the dance. And I looked at him, and he was, you know, he had this like weird hairdo between Caesar and Napoleon. As a matter of fact, one of the first things that he ever told me was that he was a descendant of Napoleon. and that his father had shortened the name of Bonaparte to Bono when they came to this country. But that he didn't want to make too big of a deal out of this. Now, you have to realize, at this time, he was talking to a girl who thought that Mount Rushmore was a natural phenomenon. So we were definitely a marriage made in heaven. I wanted to tell Mary and Chezzy and Chiana how proud I am of what he made himself after we were separated and his accomplishments. And I know that a person just doesn't decide to become a congressman in the middle of their life and then be one, but it's so typically Sonny to do something so crazy like that. And also it puts me at peace to know that, you know, in the end of his days that he had such a wonderful family life, and I know how much he loved Mary and Chez and Chiana, and I know how much they loved him. And also I know how much he loved his friends. He was the greatest friend. And if you'd seen our house for the last 5 days, Mary's house for the last 5 days, we can't get rid of everybody. Everybody's just there, you know, and it's the way he would have wanted it. He would have been in the middle cooking, not eating, just tasting, and making everybody else eat. So the last thing I want to say is, when I was young, there was this section in the Reader's Digest, and it was called The Most Unforgettable Character I've Ever Met. And for me, that person is Sonny Bono. And no matter how long I live or who I meet in my life, that person will always be son for me. Thank you.
Their only daughter, Chastity Bono, attending the funeral with her mother, was visibly shaken. The outspoken lesbian activist often didn't see eye to eye with the Republican father on issues like gay rights. But she said in a statement, although my father and I differed on some issues, he was very supportive of my personal life and career and was a loving father. I will miss him greatly. After his divorce from Cher, Bono married Mary Whitaker in 1986. They had 2 children, Chiana and Cesare. Mary and her children stood side by side with Cher, Chastity, and Bono's other wives at the funeral, often exchanging hugs of support. During her eulogy, Cher talked about how generous Mary had been, letting them all stay in the family home. Coming up, a look back at Bono's life, starting with his early years as an entertainer. Sonny and Cher were a big hit in the 1960s and 70s. It was one of the reasons many people were skeptical Bono could ever make it in Washington.
Oh, Sonny, yesterday my life was filled with rain. Sonny, oh, you smiled and really eased my pain for the dark days I... Gold! Gold! I've got gold nuggets!
In this kind of weather, everybody gets cold nuggets.
That's a lighter moment from the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. But even before they were big stars on television, Sonny and Cher were big stars in the music business. In 1965, I Got You Babe hit #1. In the 1970s, their TV show featured Bono as the often bumbling but charming sidekick of his more sophisticated wife. And of course, it featured their music.
When you're down and troubled and you need some loving care, and nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night.
Their show ran from 1971 to 1974 when they got a divorce. Then, even after their separation, Sonny and Cher reunited for the 1976 television season. In a 1971 interview, they said that their show wasn't trying to send any political message, just have fun.
What are you saying right now in your act? Are you, what do you stand for? What is the message, or is there a message?
In the act, I don't think it's an entertainer's position, or it's not his responsibility to shove any kind of idealism down your throat when you're supposed to be there to be entertained. We try just to entertain people and let them get their political and their life views from something else that is, you know, that means more. You know, entertainment is just supposed to relieve you.
Yeah, I don't think you should really cram your philosophy down anybody's throat. I've had it, you know, with other entertainers when they start on their personal philosophies. I've heard them all, and we get so much exposure. We're all big enough to know and judge.
When we come back, Sonny Bono changes his tune. We'll look at his years as mayor of Palm Springs and what drove the colorful and casually dressed symbol of the 1970s to decide he wanted to wear a suit. That's next.
Sonny took some hard punches in life. He suffered some knockdowns, but he never stayed down. He'd pick himself up and come right back. He just refused to accept it when somebody told him that he couldn't do something, couldn't be something. He just wouldn't accept that. Sonny couldn't break into the music industry, so he just wrote hit records. He was told he couldn't carry a tune, so he just recorded hit songs, about 10 of them. And City Hall tried to tell Sonny how to run his life, so Sonny said, excuse me, hell, why fight City Hall? Just take it over.
Sonny and Cher show and our relationship was a tremendously entrenched thing, along with television, along with America, and you have to just totally disconnect from that and move forward. You know, I was able to do that.
When Sonny Bono's musical career began to fade, he moved to the upscale town of Palm Springs, California, and he opened an Italian restaurant. In 1988, upset that bureaucratic red tape got in the way of a remodeling project, he decided to run for mayor, and he won. He was 53 years old, and he had never even been a registered voter. Now, after his first election, NBC's Keith Morrison talked to Bono about his politics.
I don't think I've ever been happier in my life.
When Sonny Bono said the oath that made him mayor of Palm Springs, it was all he could do not to cry.
I do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The tears he choked back were tears of joy, the joy of a man who once was lost and now is found again.
Every morning I'd wake Mary up, and when I'd wake up I said, do you realize I'm the mayor?
It may not be the biggest job in the world, mayor of Palm Springs, but Sonny Bono goes at it with all the energy and exuberance of a man born to the game.
Would you please be...
You're not my mother or dad. I'm talking, so be quiet. The reason I'm not here...
After a campaign in which he was belittled as a has-been and a flake, no problem is too small, and no small job is without satisfaction.
Give me a job.
Right.
Tell me what you need me to do, and then when you need me to do it, I'll do it.
That is not to say Bono has embraced the conventional life. This uncommon mayor brings infant son and wife to his press conference. Names his latest offspring Cesare because he's decided names that start with C-H bring luck.
My first daughter's name was C-H, was Christy, and then along came Chastity, and we had another C-H. And then before me and Mary had the baby, we had our dogs, which were, of course, our babies then, and they were all C-H's. China, Cheetah, and Shane, and they're all C-H's. So when this little guy came, we wanted to call him Cesare, but we threw the C-H in there because that's been running pretty lucky for us.
Oh, I love
And constituents are clearly just as interested in his celebrity as they are in city policy, which is just fine for the man who used to revel in stardom. In fact, Palm Springs voters gave Sonny Bono more than they knew.
That night that I won the election, it was the highest high I've ever had in my life, because those people have to vote for you. So it's the ultimate in validation.
There was a time, of course, when Bono had more validation than he knew what to do with. But even here at the pinnacle, this brightest duo of the 60s was more Cher than Sonny. And when the lyrics no longer rang true, it was he who fell hard.
Such a tremendous loss. I lost a career, I lost a family, I lost being a father on the spot. So every loss came all at once.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a gradual loss, it was just boom.
And more than a decade after, the successful restaurateur, the owner of a 4-building villa in one of the richest towns in America, found his life still wanting. Until a dispute over his right to fix his house gave him purpose.
Kinda buying this property got me to be mayor, because when I bought the house, I was all excited emotionally, and you go, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and I went down to the city and I got so much resistance, and we got in such a fight about redoing this property.
What do you want to do that they objected to?
Nothing. They just liked, at that time, they liked to control you, and they wanted to let you know they were boss, and they made everything very difficult, and they actually stopped me for a year.
And so the celebrity took on the establishment. And maybe only in Palm Springs could a 53-year-old Republican businessman be considered a dangerous radical. He ran on a promise to give the city back to the people, and the old guard couldn't touch him. Now, Sonny Bono's life was charmed again. Even this.
Oh, then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no other mountain we can't climb.
During the campaign, if just for a moment, he got his share back again on David Letterman's TV show. And Mary, wife and partner and co-campaigner, didn't seem to mind at all. In fact,
it's funny because in a strange way, and I don't know how to ever tell anybody this, even Sonny I can't say, but there's a part of me that's sad that Sonny and Cher broke up. I think that they were incredible together.
there is about both of them a kind of infectious charm. His reborn middle-aged enthusiasm supported by her youthful maturity. Now it is the Sonny and Mary show. Always a show, still a duet, but Sonny is the star now.
We'll be over there about...
This is Keith Morrison in Palm Springs.
Sonny Bono eventually decided there were even bigger races coming up, the Washington years. One-time singer and stand-up comedian Sonny Bono becomes a national lawmaker and deals with a new round of critics. That, plus a check of the latest news headlines, is next.
And in Washington, Sonny Bono always left him smiling. There were tears at his funeral today, but there were also smiles as Cher, the rest of his family, his famous friends, and his fans bid Sonny Bono a fond farewell. ET's Mark Steinis reports from Palm Springs.
This is probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life.
There was a hush in the crowd as Cher and her daughter Chastity arrived at St. Teresa's Catholic Church to say their last goodbyes to Sonny. The funeral service for the late entertainer and congressman has brought more than 1,000 mourners to this California desert community. Sonny was a man who lived many lives and made many friends along the way. Sonny's wife Mary and 2 young children made their way into the church, no doubt comforted by the fact that their husband and father was loved by so many. Fellow members of Congress and other political figures were also in attendance to pay tribute to Sonny's political career. In a driving rain, a military honor guard carried the flag-draped casket from the hearse into the church.
Amazing grace, how sweet the
The traditional Catholic funeral mass included a very touching and often emotional eulogy from Cher.
Some people thought that Son wasn't very bright because he allowed himself to be the butt of the jokes on the Sonny and Cher show. What people don't realize is that he created Sonny and Cher. When I was 16 years old, I met Sonny, and he was, you know, he had this like weird hairdo between Caesar and Napoleon. As a matter of fact, one of the first things that he ever told me was that he was a descendant of Napoleon. And that his father had shortened the name of Bonaparte to Bono when they came to this country. It puts me at peace to know that, you know, in the end of his days, that he had such a wonderful family life, and I know how much he loved Mary and Ches and Chiana, and I know how much they loved him. And also, I know how much he loved his friends. He was the greatest friend. When I was young, there was this section in the Reader's Digest, and it was called The Most Unforgettable Character I've Ever Met. And for me, that person is Sonny Bono. And no matter how long I live or who I meet in my life, that person will always be Son for me. Thank you.
After the service, Cher, Chastity, and Mary Bono and the rest of Sonny's family left the church to make the trip to Desert Memorial Park, his final resting place. It's not often one man can touch so many lives. Sonny Bono was such a man. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Mark. When we think of Sonny, we think of Cher. But all hearts went out today to Sonny's widow, Mary. And later, we'll get to know her in her own words and through Sonny's eyes. Family videos and interviews with the Bonos later on ET. The outpouring of grief and love at Sonny Bono's funeral from his friends and those who met him only through his songs or his speeches. Everyone felt they knew Sonny, but few know the woman who knew him best, his widow, Mary. She's the grieving widow nobody knows. While news reports speak of Cher's pain, it was Mary Bono who today gamely put on a brave face, as much for her children as for herself. For her, this day was one that she would somehow endure, her pain no doubt eased by memories of the life she and Sonny once shared.
Mary means everything to me. Mary is this girl that walked into my life. No Hollywood, no showbiz, and there was a purity and a sincerity there that I was ready to be part of.
He may always be remembered for his relationship with Cher, but Sonny Bono said the greatest love of his life was his fourth wife, Mary, who restored his faith and family.
She just liked Sonny Bono, so it wasn't like she liked Sonny and Cher. I mean, she liked Sonny and Cher too, but she liked me.
In 1984, Sonny Bono met 22-year-old Mary Whitaker when she came to his Los Angeles restaurant to celebrate her graduation from USC. After 3 failed marriages, Sonny wasn't looking for another relationship, but couldn't help falling in love. They were married 2 years later.
I was so totally enchanted by Mary. I mean, she said, look, I love you, but we got to have kids. I never heard a woman say that to me in Hollywood.
The couple had 2 children together. We visited their home in Palm Springs shortly after the birth of their first child, Cesare. Sonny was a proud papa.
Down, 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 down.
He's a great new father. I think he likes it being a father this time better than any time before. He's got more time, and seeing his kids big now, he always wishes he had more time with them when they're younger. So I think he spends extra amount of time with Cesare since he knows what he missed out on with them.
With Mary to support him, Sonny felt confident enough to embark on his career in politics.
I actually never even thought I'd be Sonny's wife, let alone a mayor's wife, but I thought he would do a good job, and he has done a very good job. I'm very proud of everything he's done.
I'm totally in love with my wife and my children. I certainly have a much better understanding about what a relationship should be, and what you have to contribute to your kids. So I'm a completely different person.
What loving words between the two of them. Mary Bono told the Palm Springs Desert Sun that she and Cher have spent a lot of time together at the family home in the past few days. And Mary says Cher has been a constant source of comfort and that the two are more like sisters than rivals. We'll be right back.
Sylvester Stallone paid emotional tribute to Sonny Bono this weekend at the film festival Sonny founded, but it was his widow Mary who brought the crowd to tears. E.T.'s Leonard Maltin was there.
How can I express my gratitude to each and every one of you for the love and support you have given me and my family?
Only a day had passed since she'd stood by her husband's casket. Now Mary Bono was standing before an emotional crowd at the Palm Springs International Film Festival.
Your words and thoughtfulness, your gestures of kindness have all helped us through an impossibly difficult week. My heart has been in so many different places.
Sonny Bono had poured his heart and soul into building the festival into a world-class event, attracting such stars as Sophia Loren, Susan Sarandon, and Lauren Bacall.
It's a wonderful honor to be here, and a heartfelt gratitude goes out to Sonny Bono.
Sylvester Stallone, this year's honoree for career achievement, paid touching tribute to Sonny.
Ironically, it was in every sense of the word a real-life Rocky whose life should serve as like a sterling example for every young artist who should never give up pursuing your dreams.
The festival thrived because Sonny was a showman. He's thrilled. I mean, he would be thrilled. And I know if he were here, he'd be working the room right now.
As MC of this year's banquet, I remembered attending that first film festival 9 years ago. Sonny's legacy will live on in a special Visionary Award to be named in his honor.
You know, it's interesting because a guy like that is truly respected, but you never know it in his lifetime. That's so odd. There's always a good spot because everyone looked at him as, like, no matter what, he was an achiever. So you had to respect that.
And though emotions ran high at the event, Stallone was thrilled with his honor and just a little surprised by it all.
It just makes me wonder, do these people see my films? I'm just wondering, you know, how is this possible?
Thanks, Leonard. There will be a lasting tribute to Sonny Bono in his adopted hometown. Mary Bono has agreed to chair a committee that will design a statue of Sonny for downtown Palm Springs.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is a show in which I get to play some songs to all of you, and you get to give me a good old grueling with questions, and that's why the show is called An Audience With. And Cher is going to start the proceedings off. How are you, old bag?
Hello, Bean.
We go back a long way.
Well, do we?
Yeah, I had hair when I first met.
I know.
Yeah.
And you were teeny.
I was teeny.
Yes.
Yeah, well.
And I had Sonny.
Yeah, you had.
And he was teeny.
He was.
You had Sonny, too.
So, Bono was a completely inappropriate name for him then.
Yes, it was. Completely. All right, so I'm supposed to ask you this question. If you could describe yourself in 20 words or less, what would you say, darling?
Shy, generous, temperamental, Fabulous. I don't know. Just an old tart, basically.
Yes,
You know that.
I do.
Kathleen Turner, where are you?
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are.
Well, I was wondering, actually, that I know you've got classical training. I know you trained at the Royal Academy. So
Right.
how come you got bumped over into rock and roll?
Well, you see, I knew at an early age that these hands, which are extremely small, would not be suitable for classical music because, you know, most classical pianists have beautifully long fingers, and most pianists have very long fingers, and I just about get an octave. So I knew at an early age that I wasn't good enough for classical music. I love playing classical music, but I actually prefer to play rock and roll, and so that's what I decided to do.
It was your hands that did it, huh?
It was the hands that did it. I'm not small in every department, of course.
No, hands have nothing to do with it.
No, hands.
No.
Don't believe what you read.
Yeah.
That's, my reputation's gone within 2 questions, right? I'm leaving.
No, Timothy's going.